All right, we're going to take this opportunity to get started. Everyone who is already logged in, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Laura Mattini. I'm the SOLIDWORKS Education Specialist here at Design Point. Oh, yes, sharing the screen now. Joined by Ryan Kohler of SOLIDWORKS. And yeah, the whole purpose of today's webinar is talking about the benefits of SOLIDWORKS in educational environments. We will be talking about colleges and universities, as well as the benefits that high schools have, similar or same benefits. And to get started, just to make sure everything is working properly and everyone can navigate through the system, I'm going to ask that everyone goes over to the chat and gives it a try and raises their hand just to make sure that it's working and that everyone knows where it is. So if you would be so kind, just hop over there and raise your hand. Okay. Seeing several people raise hands. Perfect. Thank you. And we will also be doing some polls during this just to get some of your input. So the first poll I'm going to launch is pretty self-explanatory. Just want to know, how are you guys feeling today? Just 3 options. You're feeling fan-freaking-tastic. Yeah, you're feeling pretty good. And hey, I'll be in a better mood after this kick-ass presentation, which, yes, it is going to be pretty kick-ass. So just, oh, I see several. All right. Nice. All right, most people have voted. We're going to wait a few more seconds. And all right. All right, looks like 10% of you were fantastic and 80% of you are doing pretty good, and 10%, all right, be in a better mood after this presentation. So thanks guys for checking that out. So I'm going to pass it over to Ryan. Ryan has been working with us on ensuring that our customers are getting the most out of their education investment. So I'm going to turn it over to him so he can talk about all those benefits.
Awesome, thank you, Laura. Hopefully everybody can hear me just fine. So I'll probably leave my webcam on during this presentation just so it makes it feel like we're a little bit more in person. If you guys want, I can change it to we can meet in a bar if that's a little better. I know a lot of people haven't been in bars in a while, but maybe for the educational setting, we'll leave it as a library. So we're gonna do a lot of stuff today, talk about a lot of information, most of which, if you already have SOLIDWORKS, you already have access to. So before we begin and when we start the presentation and I introduce myself, Laura, can you put up that other poll? Perfect. So quickly, just how many people already have SOLIDWORKS? Just yes or no. And this is good. If you don't have SOLIDWORKS, you'll learn about all the benefits that come with the purchase of our licenses. Give it a few minutes. Your responses. All right, 92% vote. That's pretty good. We'll close that. So 82% of you already have it, which is great. That's actually one of the focuses of this presentation, was just to make sure, you know, people that already have the software know all the benefits of what they're getting. And for those of you who don't have the software, you get to see all the new stuff and things that you could have. So my name, as Laura mentioned, is Ryan Kohler. I work as a territory sales manager for SOLIDWORKS, mechanical engineer that's been at SOLIDWORKS for many, many years. I went to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. And I'm a user of the software, as well as I was previously a teacher trainer, as well as I'm now in the sales role. So I've done a little bit of everything. So we're going to start off the presentation by talking about what we're going to go over. So we're going to talk all about the subscription benefits you get, a basic overview, certifications, how they're used, some info from data from the industry, as well as my SOLIDWORKS, and then finally the 3D Experience platform. So to start off, just a quick overview of subscription benefits. So certifications, when the school purchases 60 or more seats, you get equal amounts of 10, I think it's 11 or 12 certification exams, everything but the expert level, 1-to-1 to the seat count. So if you have 60, you're gonna get 60 certified SOLIDWORKS associate, professional, all of the advanced professional exams like sheet metal, mold tools, and so on, And normally those are around $100 a piece, and those come included. So the students don't have to go off and purchase these on their own outside of school. You can hand them out to them. And we really like you to just, when you have the chance, let students use those and take advantage of the fact that you have access to them. Now, My SolidWorks is our e-learning website. It's perfect for students and teachers to go on, and you can use it for assigning homework. Say, hey, go watch the video on fillets, or just in general, just for them to go study up on different tools like surfacing or sheet metal or something else they want to learn on. And normally that would be $300, per user a year. But once again, this comes along with subscription. And then finally, if you have 60 seats or more in the US, you also get an equal amount, if you're on active subs, an equal amount of activations on a second serial number. Now, we renamed that recently to Student Premium. Some of you might know it as the Student Engineering Kit, but basically you get the network serial number to school, as well as a separate serial number with all the same bells and whistles that starts with 9020, and that serial number has equal amount of activations as there is seats at school. So we want the teachers to use this. We want you to give it to students to use at home, even if maybe they don't have a fast enough computer on their own. They might have a parent's computer they want to put it on. But please use that. If you guys get close to max, we can add a few extra activations on there so you're all set. As Laura knows, I can go in there and I can change that whenever we need to. So just don't worry about using it. We want to make sure you take advantage of these benefits. Now for certifications. The left-hand side here is the list of all the certifications that you get access to, and there's actually a few more coming out. So as you can tell, for those of you who know the certification program, in order to take the expert level, the CSWE, you need to pass the associate, professional, and then 4 out of the 5 professional advanced exams, which are on the bottom left there. So we give you and your students everything you need to get them prepared to take the expert level exam. Now, remember, these are not just for students. If you want to take the certifications, you're completely allowed to use a voucher for yourself to take the exams. So please feel free to. Now, the one thing I will say though, if you fail the exam, don't not give it to the students. I've taught a couple hundred teachers across the US, and one of the unfortunate things was that sometimes if you didn't pass it, you didn't want to give it to your students. And I understand that it's sort of a pride thing where you'd like to be able to pass it first before your students can, but teaching versus being a student, they're different speeds. If you can teach someone something, but it doesn't mean you can take the test in the same amount of time they took the test in. So it's a little different. If you do want to take the exam so that you understand them, I highly suggest that. And what we can do is we can actually extend the time frame for you. So if you already have an account, you can reach out to me. You'll see my email at the end, and I can actually extend the time so that you have time and a half so that you can take your time when you take the exam. Now, on that same point, I'll get into that in a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more detail. But these are all free for students and the teachers. So please use them. We reduced the retake period to 14 days. That way, just in case, we used to have 30 days, but a lot of schools do retakes for 14 days for exams. So we decided to reduce it down. And finally, while COVID's going on, unfortunately, I would have liked it to get a little better by now. Hence, Laura and I had the masks on our photos. We thought that was a nice little touch. But parent or guardian proctoring is completely allowed. So if you're doing a virtual classroom and your students are all at home and you want to give them the voucher and you trust them to take the exam and you trust that the parent isn't going to take the exam for them, you're more than happy to give them the credits and the vouchers to use at home so that you can pass the exams. Now, before we hop into the next slide, Laura, can you put up the other poll with the US jobs?
I would love to.
Awesome.
All right.
So take a guess at how many jobs you think there are currently inside the US for SolidWorks jobs. We'll give it a few minutes. Wow. Laura, we should have put a second one up there, being how many jobs do you think there is for other competitors?
I know, we should have. That would have made it even
now that I'm seeing the guesses, they're pretty good.
Love it.
All right, we'll close that poll. So you're actually pretty accurate, which is amazing. So if we take a look here at the data, so right now there's about 5,000 jobs in the US for SolidWorks jobs. Normally, there's actually around 10,000, but right now with COVID, there's been a drop in that. Now, the interesting thing, you can see a few of the top states right here: California, Massachusetts, Texas, large amount of jobs. But we also took a look at how many your specific states that many of you are from, like Maryland, New Jersey, New York, and Delaware, and you can see there's still a significant amount of jobs. Now, the interesting thing is while Laura and I were talking yesterday, because we pulled this data yesterday, we then took a look at Fusion 360, CATIA, which we also own, Autodesk Inventor, and Onshape. And if you see the numbers on the top cell there next to US, 146, 137, 402, and 36. That's across the entire US. So I actually thought it was going to be, to be honest, I actually thought it was going to be a little closer. I thought the numbers were going to be a little bit higher. So this actually kind of shocked me a little bit, but in a good way, because I work for SOLIDWORKS, so that makes me happy. But it's very clear across the US that the overwhelming amount of jobs that people are looking for is SOLIDWORKS related. So that's very good for you, for considering 90% of you already have SOLIDWORKS. So be proud about that. That's actually going to help a lot of your students in the future when it comes to getting jobs. But even with the impact of COVID, the numbers are still extremely high, which is amazing. So we thought this was kind of cool data. It's always good to show so you can see what's going on in the local area as well. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to hop into the exam. So what I want to do is I actually want to show you real quick the website for our SOLIDWORKS exam, so you can take a look to see how the exam is set up. So on solidworks.com/CSWA, Certified SOLIDWORKS Associate, we have the exam here, and we can actually take a look at all the details about it, how long the exam is, the minimum passing rate, as well as all the different features that are included on the exam. Now, the first thing I want to focus on is the length. Now, normally you would be in class. So doing 3 hours in a class is not easy. We actually were able to break the exam in half. So we can offer the exam in one part or two-part exam. So 3 hours altogether or 2 hour-and-a-half segments. Now, the hour-and-a-half segments are split up, so there is a pros and cons to it. So if you do the 3 hours all at once, and let's say the student just isn't that great at assemblies, you can still probably pass as long as you get a 70%. But if you break the exam up, then you're going to have to pass 70% on each part in order to pass it. Now, on the other side, though, if you pass part 1 and you fail part 2, you only have to retake part 2. So as I said, there's pros and cons to this. I usually lean towards just doing the 3 hour exam, especially with the students being at home right now. They have the time. They're either working on classwork or playing video games, so might as well give them something to do. So just say it was Ryan's fault when you give them the vouchers to take, like Ryan told us to. But the exam is not very difficult as long as you go through all of these. When I first went through, all I did, and this is not the correct way to do it, but I went through and basically just checked off that I knew how to do every single one of these tools. So it worked. I passed the exam, but it's better to actually walk through and understand how to create stuff, a little design intent, and actually create the parts, knowing why you're creating them, but also not just learning the individual features. So don't do it the way I did it. It did work, but, and just so you know, the national passing rate on the exam is actually still worldwide around 60%, which is pretty impressive. For years, I was expecting it to drop or go up or something, but it pretty much stayed the same over this entire time. So that's pretty much how that works. Now, I do want to show you real quick what the sample exam looks like if you've never seen it before. So let me pop that up real quick. So the sample exam, I'm going to scroll down, but it starts off with multiple choice questions saying, what view is this? This actually talks about how to install it. Which view and drawings is this, and then so on. There's a few of those. And then you get to this where you actually have to do a part. Now, I will say this part is probably the most complex sketch within amount of sketch entities within one sketch you'll probably have to do. But at the same time, they're not super intense. Now, some little tips and tricks when it comes to the exam. When you're doing one of these parts, you'll give you information, A, B, and C. It'll give you the mass. It'll give you, it'll give you the density. We want to know the mass. Do not have tell your students not to move on until they choose one of these perfectly. So the mass of the part, in this case, 393.54 is the answer, and it should be exactly that. Like, it should not be 0.55. So if they don't get that first one exactly to match one of those, they shouldn't move on. And the reason why is we give partial credit. So if they were to get this one right, on the next problem, it says, what is the mass? Now they have to get the answer within plus or minus 2%. So if they get the first one right, or even if they get the first one accurately wrong, weird enough, they'll still get partial credit in the next one. Now it'll slowly be deviating from 1% to 2% as they move on, but they'll still get partial credit. And then on this sense, if they got the first one right and the second one, they should be easily within 2%. And then from there, it does more problems. It edits the part, and then it asks you for mass again. And then finally, it gets on to the assembly portion where you have to create an assembly, and it's going to ask you for the center of mass. So it's not super complex, but it is a really good exam. It really gives a good comprehension of CAD. Now, when it comes to the exam, for teachers, there's a few ways you can do this. You could reach out. We have most of our resellers in the US signed up as providers so that they can actually administer the exams to you and basically give you codes to give to your students. So in that process, basically, they would give you a code and they can make it last for up to 5 months, or a voucher, and you could use it for your students. Now the downfall is you wouldn't be able to actually see how the students did. So that's unfortunate. But you can also sign up as a provider. By signing up as a provider, we'll give you equal amounts of every single one of those exams in your account that you can then administer whenever you want. So if you want to hop in there and take a look and grab some codes and at the beginning of the semester, make them last for 5 months and then hand them out as needed, you can do that. Or you can do them, the day before the exam and just kind of create a few codes and send them out. Now, if you ever do run out of codes, you will have an email address that you get when you sign up as a provider, and you'll be able to email, some of you might know, Christine Morse, and she will actually add more credits into your account. So you're able to do that as well. Now, during COVID and everything that's going on, we're more than happy to help you out. So if you use a bunch of codes right now, feel free. We're actually going to top most accounts off in August. So use up your codes, use up your credits, give them to the students. And many schools, we've been trying to explain that, it's kind of difficult. A lot of times schools, in order to get budgets, you need to show that your students are, doing well. So a lot of times it's just exams, those fun exams with the Scantrons, where you got to send it in, you can get the answers, or industry certifications. Students are at home, they have time. We're allowing you to proctor with parent or guardian help. You can send them the codes and they can take the exams, and if they pass them, then you're getting the student certified, which makes the school look really good. So take advantage of this free stuff that's included with your subscription. It really will help out. If you've never been to the provider area, I want to show you real quick what it looks like. It's 3dexperience.virtualtester.com. You would log in. Once you're logged in, you'll have a few tabs that pop up here. What certificates you have, your exams, your credits, or your team info. I'm going to go to credits to show you what it looks like, but if I want to create a credit for an exam, you'll see I have a balance of 2,605. Now your balance might not be that high, but I have access to those. I can increase that whenever I want. So you can grab an exam, create exam code, choose one, and you could do like test, or you could do, let's say, fall class 2020. Now this right here is the tracking code. This allows you to basically see so if this number was 10, we could create 10 exams with that tracking code. And basically when the students take the exams afterwards, you'll be able to see how they did. So I'm just gonna make this one for now and show you what it looks like. I do 20, I can extend the date out however I want. Up in this case, we can go all the way to December 29th. And then we hit create. Now, once it's created, you'll be able to copy the code and send it off. But at the same time, in team info, we could take a look, and let's say a bunch of those students actually took the exam. So we could go in and we could take a look at all the people that took the exam, so we can see how the students did, who passed, who failed, how much they passed by, and it even tells you how well they did in each segment of the exam. So it's a great way to be able to see how the students are doing, as well as you don't have to ask them, hey, how'd you do? Did you pass? It's already there. So that's a great way for you to take advantage and use our certification program. The next thing we want to talk about is My SolidWorks. So My SolidWorks, for those of you who know what it is our e-learning website. We've converted a lot of our online tutorials as well as a lot of our commercial manuals into videos with our internal teams as well as help from external teams to create some videos. And these are all in there for you to access. Now, there's one caveat, and I'll show you in a moment. We don't have e-courses. E-courses are custom-made courses that were designed, and we sell those through resellers. So we don't have those, but we basically have everything else that normally you would have to pay $365 a year for, that is included if you use that 90200 serial number that you get for all the students and yourself to use at home. So I want to pop in there to show you what that looks like. So mysolidworks.com, it looks like this, and you would normally log in. Now, if you've never logged in before and this is your first time, you can click join, or you'll see along this bottom area right here, you can actually click this one where it says My SolidWorks for Students. It probably should say My SolidWorks for Students and Teachers, but we haven't changed that yet. But basically, you can click here and follow the process to basically walk through how to create an account. Now, I'm already logged in, I'm already registered, but you would go here and you would click register as a student, and you would create a guest account. Once the guest account is created, it would then redirect you and bring you into your My subscription. And don't worry, we have a whole video for this. And where you can actually register as a student and put your 9020 serial number in. Now you'll see down below, student is higher than standard, has a lot more videos and buttons selected as well. And then we're able to basically get you pretty much most of the content we have: CSWA, CSWP, CSWE prep courses. I'll show you CSWA real quick. If I search CSWA and go to learning paths, I actually have the sample exam, the assembly, and also the prep course. So this prep course is 44 videos long, and your students can walk through these. There's no need for SolidWorks. Everything's interactive within the videos in the e-learning area, and you can assign these for homework. And if you ever want to see what they've done, we're working on updating the interface to connect with the teacher's SNL license at the school. But if they finish one of these and they answered, I think, 4 to 5 questions correct, or at least 80%, they'll have a check mark here, a green check mark saying they finished it. So you're actually able to see if they actually did their homework or not, which is great. So mysolidworks.com is a phenomenal website for you to take advantage of, especially with all the students being at home, for them to walk through and learn all about it. Now, also, I don't think we mentioned this, but feel free if there is any, oh yeah, someone did ask what the average grade is on the back of the CSWA. If you heard me, the average grade, I think, is 80, for those who pass, I believe it's 80 on the exam, or 80% pass. So it's out of, what is it, 165? So yeah, so it's about 80% is the average passing grade, but the passing percentage is around 60%. I think most people I've seen with the CSWA have taken, a lot of people take almost a full 3 hours, but students that really know what they're doing and they're prepared, I've seen people pass in an hour and a half. I think it took me an hour and 40 minutes. So if you know it well, you can do it pretty quick. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to go into the platform. Now, feel free to ask any questions during this time if you want to type them in the questions area. We can answer them as we go, or we can answer a lot of them at the end. We're going to get into part of the demo of this platform product, which some of you may have heard about. So we have a new product we want to talk about. Now, that was most of the subscription benefits. So just to recap, certification one-to-one with your licenses, and actually right now we're going to give you more. Just keep using them until we're probably August 1st. We'll probably start topping them back off. You get the one-to-one license for the students and teachers to use at home, and then also you get access to mysolidworks.com using that same home use license, which starts at 9020. So those are 3 of the biggest added bonuses to this software. Now, there is one thing I do want to add, and Laura, we didn't talk about this, but I forgot about it. I sent this to you a little while ago, and I always try to remember to post it in here. So one of the biggest things for teachers to help out in the classroom is honestly just practice problems. So I got an intern, and him and myself actually worked through creating a practice problem set for all of you to use at home for free. And for all of you can use it to create a class. You can use it any way you want. We just created it for you to use. So it's about 40 or so practice problems, and the practice problems actually increase in difficulty as you go through each section. And by the end of it, it's actually more difficult than the CSWA. So I want to put that in the chat just so everybody has it. I'm going to go to everybody. Here's a Google Drive link to it. Just feel free to download that and use it however you want. So, and there's even a file in there for teachers versus students. And there's even a separate file that actually tells you how to format your existing files you have into the same format that we're using. So I want to make sure you have that. If you don't do the link right now, Laura has that as well, so she can send that off to you. But yeah, feel free to use that however you'd like. All right, so let's talk about the 3D Experience platform. So some of you may have heard of this. This is a cloud-based CAD product. We have two offers. We have 3D Designer for Education and Project Collaborator. Now, this is a completely cloud offer. I can use it on my cell phone. Android, iPhone, iPad, Chromebook, you name it. Now, there is a little bit something different than this versus normal CAD. It's got CAD. It has normal CAD in here. But it also has a lot of other tools like collaboration. So we have tools like web page readers, quick links, web notes, a bunch of tools used for you to bring in if you're a Google school and use a lot of Google documents, you can use those inside the web page reader. We also have other collaboration tools for storage, such as 3D Space, that's where you store all your CAD files, and even 3D Drive, where you can actually connect your Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneBox to access files as well. Project Planner, this is one of my favorite ones. Two of the biggest things that happens when a student graduates high school and university, two skills they don't really have is project planning or project management, and they don't have product lifecycle management. So having both of those helps a student out a lot. And we have PLM, product lifecycle management, built in here, as well as project planning. So those two skills, those two are built in here, so you actually give the students access to that so they can learn more about it. So when they get into the world and they start working for a commercial company, they understand why checking in and checking out a file is really important, so that no one else can use it, so that you're the only one working on it. So there's some cool tools like that. There's also XDesign. XDesign is our CAD modeler. For those of you many of you already have SOLIDWORks. It's extremely similar. I'm actually going to pop in there in a moment. I'm actually going to show you live what it looks like. And then finally, there's also XShape. XShape is our new subdivision modeler, and this is specifically created for doing complex geometry. So if you were doing like a bicycle helmet, or you were doing a body of a Shelby Cobra, and this very smooth, sleek body style of a car, you can use SOLIDWORks with our splines and our surfacing models and all that, but this is completely push-pull freeform. It makes stuff like that so easy to use. And then finally, there's actually a connector with desktop, so we can actually use this basically. Pop this out. So you can use this to connect to your current SOLIDWORks files and use them in assemblies inside the platform. Now there is two different file types. The SOLIDWORks kernel it's designed on and the XDesign and the platform kernel are different. So you want to have your features, but if someone's more comfortable using SOLIDWORks, they can still contribute and bring the files into the platform, and you can still manage the files, and you can still use project planning and all those other tools as well. Now the difference between the two products, 3D Designer for Education, is all of these. Now Project Collaborator, which is a reduced cost, is just everything but the CAD. So if you have SOLIDWORks, the students already are using it and they're fine with it, but you're really interested in using the project planning, the collaboration, the communities, and all those other things, we do have an offer that specifically is just for that. So those are our two offers. Now I do see a few questions real quick. I just want to take a look, I believe. So good question. Andrea, it does work with Chromebooks. We actually purchased Chromebooks specifically to demo it when we were allowed to travel. I'm actually using it on a gaming computer right now. So custom built gaming computer, it works just fine. And Surface Pros work, as I mentioned, iPhones work. And it is a subscription-based model. So you're able to purchase it for a year on subscription, and then at the end you can decide whether you want to keep it or not. But if you wait, let's say 30 days or so, it'll actually kind of delete the tenant, and then you have to purchase a brand new one. But it is a subscription-based model, so you're able to do that, and you're able to use it as you want. Oh, you don't even need a separate version for students to use at home, because all they have to do is log in. So let me jump in there and show you what that looks like. It's way better just to show a live demo, especially when you can turn it on right there. All right, so I'm just going to log in fresh, just so you can see that I'm logging into the browser right here. I'm not, it's not a prepped demo that's perfectly designed so it works. So if something goes wrong, I blame Laura. No, I'm just kidding. So if you use Chrome and you know how to use full screen, I'm just going to press F11 just to go full screen and make it look like as if it's a software. But this is kind of what it looks like. We have this dashboard symbol on the top left that allows us to basically take a look at different dashboards that we created. So it's kind of like Excel, where you have different tabs and you can create different things on different tabs in Excel. We can basically create a community page, a project planner tab, a class info tab, and we can bring in different apps to basically design it any way we want. And I'll show you how that's done. In this case, I'm just going to show you this one right here, which is called Class 1. This is the specific dashboard I created. And then up here, this is all your apps. Now, there's a lot. There's more apps than you probably need. We like to always mirror what commercial has. So we like to, that way the students in the school gets used to what's being used in commercial. So commercially, these are joined together in different roles. And you'll see up top here, 3D designer, collaborative business innovator, collaborative industry innovator, and not platform manager. That's just because I'm the admin. But these are the 3 roles that come included in 3D designer for education. Now, I'm going to close that. So on this page, we have XDesign, we have 3D Space where our CAD files are stored, and we have 3D Drive where I mentioned you can connect things like Dropbox and Google Drive directly to it to actually access those files. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a brand new component, and then afterwards I'll quickly jump in and I'll show you a few of the other tabs in here. So I'm going to click New Component, call it Product 1 for now. I'm going to full screen this, so I'm taking up the entire screen. So every single one of these apps is just a viewer. It's just a window that we dragged in and we sized it the way we want. And when you're going to use it and you want to take a look at it, you can just full screen it. So you could have 30 apps in there doing 30 different things, and whenever you want to focus on one, you just expand it full screen. Now in here, you might notice it looks a lot like SOLIDWORKS. So this software is very similar to SOLIDWORKS because it was designed by SOLIDWORKS R&D and CATIA R&D. So we actually worked together with CATIA to make this software. So it has a lot of similarities. A lot of the icons look similar. You see the feature, the extrude, the revolve, the loft, they all look very similar. Now, left-hand side design tree, you see our features down the bottom here. I'm just going to click on this top surface here, and I'm going to click Sketch. This is going to automatically bring it normal to. I'm going to throw a rectangle in just to kind of do the quick little create a cube sort of demo thing. Yes, I can do something more complex, but for time's sake and for questions, we definitely don't want to do that. Now, if I click on a line, you'll see this gray dimension pops up. I absolutely love this. So I can click inside that gray dimension, I can type in 200, and it automatically adds a smart dimension. And I immediately was like, so can we add that to SOLIDWORKS, please? That's awesome. So in here, I'll just throw another one in, and then I'll get to that question in a moment. And then from there, I'll go in and I'll do the fun thing where you scroll out and you accidentally lose the part off the screen. Now, the funny little joke someone told me one time, they were like, yeah, whenever you do that, you want to say a word that starts with F, but instead you just press the F key and it brings it zoom to fit. So if you like corny jokes, that's a dad joke for you. So I'm going to go straight to features. I'm going to extrude it. Now, when I extrude, it's going to bring it back to isometric view or rotate the view. And I have all the same options like I would inside SOLIDWORKS, direction 1, direction 2, advanced. We'll leave it as 35 for now. So we just have this box. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch on the top surface here, and I'm just going to throw a circle in. Now, all the same buttons and functions feel very similar. I'm on my home internet. I got pretty quick internet, but at the same time, the minimum requirement needed to run the platform is actually 4 megabytes a second. So it's really not that intense to run it. Most hotel internets would be able to run that. I have demoed from a hotel, which is not ideal, but it worked fine. So you can do things like that. Now, if a student wants to create an extrude, for those of you teachers out there, or we want to do an extrude cut, how many times do they actually click on extrude by accident? And then they create the feature after, and then you're like, oh, we got to delete that feature and redo it. Well, this is creating extrude right now, but if I take a look here, I can actually just swap to cut in the same menu. So we basically combined extrude, like add and remove of the different materials in the same menu, so you don't have to worry about jumping around. You can actually just do it right here. So through one way, there you go, cut, and there we go. Now, this is where the cool stuff comes in. You can actually go up here and change this to a camera. No, I'm kidding. That's not one of the cool things. You can change it to a camera or a chair if you want to see a little something different. But this is where we can take this part. Now I'm going to rename it. In this case, we'll just call it test 1, and that renames the part right there. We just renamed it. Now I'm going to click save, and we do have a save functionality built in because if you do autosave, you can only kind of undo so many times. You have to kind of create a set undo amount based on server storage. Now, if we do a save point, you can undo until the previous save point. So it actually benefits many of you, creates the ability to do more undos. So we went with the save button. So for those of you who don't like the save button, I apologize, but it made sense for the engineering world, for the way a lot of people design. Now I'm going to press the X key. So you might have remembered before I said subdivision modeling. So in this case, I want to go in and I want to add a freeform shape. Now I can actually just switch over with this CAD model that's more like SOLIDWORKS designed CAD model, and I can just swap straight over to X shape and just throw a blob in and start pushing and pulling it any way I want. Now, once it converts over, it'll basically tell us the transition successful. And notice in the bottom here, it now has a subdivision tab. Now, I'm going to go to the top view. Also, if you want, we do the cube still, so you can actually still do the space bar, just like you would in SOLIDWORKS, to go to the top view. I'm going to add this drop down right here, and I'm going to select quad ball. There's a few of other options in there for generic shapes just to bring in to start. But I'm just going to put this in right here. I'm going to scale it however I want. And remember, it doesn't matter what we scale it to or what we have it as, because it's just a blob. It doesn't have very specific dimensions. It's just something we can add in as a reference for us to then push and pull to whatever dimensions we'd like. So once that's in there, I'm just going to turn this cage on. The cage makes it a little easier to see things. You can see this cage above. And I'm going to go to the bottom side. I'm actually going to hold down Control, and I'm going to select these 4 points. And I'm going to click this extrude button. And what that's going to do is that's actually going to extrude those. It's going to show a little sample. We're going to extrude those out, make little feet for this guy. We got some feet for him now. Now we also can do that same function, but then cut through the whole thing. So you select 2 opposite sides, and then you do this. There we go. Yep, there we go. And you can actually cut straight through it. But you can see how organic the shape is. It's not something that's very clunky. It's a very organic shape, something that we wouldn't be able to do inside SOLIDWORKS. Then at the same time, we go back to isometric view. We can select multiple faces here. And then we get this little doodad thing that pops up. And we can actually push and pull along that plane, push and pull along a different plane. We can actually rotate or select this and move it just along those 2 planes. Or we can just grab it and pull it in any direction we want. So it has full freedom to basically move it around any way we want. And this is something that we've never had before that's really cool. So I wanted to show you guys that just because it's a really neat, it's a really great way to kind of be able to combine the engineering side with the industrial engineer side. So it has a little bit of both mixed together. Now, that's it for CAD. There's obviously a lot more it can do, but I want to show you some other cool things in here. The community tab. I added in this app called 3D Swim and called it Community. And this is where your students can basically just come in and chat. So you can create a community for all of the students to come in and just start talking and have conversations or post cool things they made. Or you can post questions or surveys or ideas for them to respond to. So it's a really cool way to basically communicate inside one area that you can see everything they're doing. And remember, as an admin, you're going to have access to everything. You're going to be able to see all the parts they're creating. You're going to be able to grab one of the parts and just kind of throw it into a 3D play, which is like our eDrawings viewer, and just take a look at it, even though they might be working on it right then. So it has a lot of cool functionality. Project Planner, as I mentioned, this is one of my favorites. Yep, that's a great question. And a question that there, can the bulb be combined with the solid? It actually will mesh what I just showed you inside XDesign and XShape. That blob will actually mesh into the same surface as the cube. And basically, I can go back to XDesign and I can actually trim away a section using an extrude if I want to. So they actually perfectly combine together. Now, this is the example of Project Planner. You'll see here I have a bunch of tasks that I created, but also I can go into each task and I can give tons of information about it. So for the classroom, if you wanted to, you could actually create all your homework problems as individual tasks. And you could add all your students to this and they could basically see when every homework problem is due. So it's a great way to use that way. But also if you want to do like a team project, you could sign someone as the project manager and they could actually go through and they could create the task, say how much percent the part is done, assign it to a specific person, in this case, Johnny Kim. Let's say we assign it to my colleague. We can even actually drop the CAD file in here too, so it's easy to double click and access the CAD file. And then you'll see a nice Gantt chart view as well, which is really nice. Now, for those of you who have use Google in the classroom, or if you use something like Blackboard or Canvas, you can actually bring those in into a web page reader. So for example, if you have a syllabus, in this case, let's say Johnny, let's say he's the professor. He created this syllabus and basically he used a Google, I'll show you exactly what he used. Oh, not that one, sorry, preferences. He created a Google Doc, but he did it in sharing mode. So this is able for us to be able to share this, but no one else can edit it. So whenever you edit the Google Doc, it updates, but the students can't edit it. And I'm actually, you can see here, I'm logged in as myself on my personal account, but I'm able to basically only view it only. At the same time, for example, Babson, they have a Canvas account, and basically we're able to basically bring that into a web page reader. Now, some websites can't be brought into a web page reader because some websites don't allow you to embed them inside of another website's page. So Google.com, for example, you can't embed Google.com, but you can use things. There's other apps in here, for example, where you can do web notes or quick links, where you can add a whole bunch of quick links that you want students to have to basically go to, let's say, 3D Content Central to get some files, or a YouTube video, or mysolidworks.com with some of the content you can have in there. Now, there's a ton more stuff in here that I could show. A lot of cool different ways to use this. One of the only things I would like to point out is there's tons more stuff, but you're actually able to create like little stories. So if you created this dashboard, let's say you created this dashboard for your students, you're actually able to then create a story for it so that you can tell them how to use it. So if I go to here in this little demo I created, you can basically click through and select the CAD tab, click the CAD tab, click a file, drag it in here, or create a brand new file. So you can actually create little demos in here for your students. And when you share this, you can also share this dashboard with them, and you can share it so that no one else can edit it, so that only you're the person that owns it. And you'll see here, I can add them as a reader. So they can't change it, but they can use it, and they can use the CAD tool. They can see all the stuff I added in there, but they're only a reader, so they can't mess around with it. So it's a lot of freedom, but at the same time, there's a lot of functionality for teachers to be able to have full control over what the students are doing. It's a really cool software. It is, I understand it is different than normal CAD, because normally you just have CAD. You don't have all these other functions in there. So it is a little bit of a learning curve in the sense that it has a lot of new things that we usually don't combine with CAD. But when you start using it, we have about 50 or so schools across the US, and we just started selling this in March that are using it, and people so far really liked it. They like how it's completely able to run on a Chromebook, and that they can use it and hop online, and teachers can answer questions on their phone and other things like that. So we wanted to take a moment just to show you this because it was really cool, and we wanted to jump in there. But Laura, I think it's time for that next survey.
Sure.
So if you guys are interested, we're more than happy if you do need it for, especially for Chromebooks. We're one of the only CAD softwares that actually works on a Chromebook or an iPad in the sense of like a commercial grade software. So feel free to reach out to Laura if you have questions, and basically just, yeah, let us know what your interest level is. Now, at this point, let's see. That's probably good. We got most people answer that. So thank you. Appreciate you guys answering that poll. And where did oh, where'd it go? Did Sharon go away? Oh, yeah, Laura, can you take down the poll?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay. So at this point, we definitely want to open it up for questions. We want to leave some time at the end so people can ask questions. There are a few questions in here already that I want to make sure get answered. So I'm going to read through one of these real quick.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the questions is, can a SOLIDWORKS file, interchange between the SOLIDWORKS interface as well as the 3D Experience interface? And the answer is yes, but the only caveat is that the features in there. So if you bring a SOLIDWORKS file, we'll just say an extrude and a few sketches and different things, and you bring in the platform, you're not going to have those features. As I mentioned, they're two different softwares, unfortunately. But you're able to use it inside of an assembly, and it'll actually update whenever you update the SOLIDWORKS file, as long as you are connected with the internet and you're connecting your SOLIDWORKS with the platform. So there is that. Now, if you do make a change to it in the platform, let's say you have a cube you brought in and you used XDesign to cut a hole through it, you've now changed the file type. So unfortunately, then you won't be able to have the features inside SOLIDWORKS. But if you have a student that is just happy with SOLIDWORKS and they like it and they want to keep using it, they're more than welcome to keep using it, and then they can still collaborate with students, being like, hey, here's the file I created. Here, I'm going to send it to you. I'm going to check it out in the PLM add-in, and so that you guys can use it in the assembly, and that will work just fine. Look through the rest of the questions. So also, just to point out one more time, please feel free to use the certifications. We don't own the testing company, but we actually purchase them in bulk so that you guys can get them for free. So please use them. We're trying to make sure that you guys can certify these students. Reddit.com, we have a ton of students that pop on there all the time asking, where can I get certified at my school? And usually many times the school just hasn't signed up yet. So just please sign up or talk to Laura if you want to just have them give the credits directly to you. But please take advantage of that. They're great certifications. And if you actually search on job websites, you'll see that people are asking for those certifications specifically.
And I know you've touched upon it already, Ryan, how the 3D Experience platform can be used on Chromebooks. That's a big deal. And that's something I've been hearing from a lot of our EDU customers is, hey, our kids, these are dynamite kids or young adults in college who need to have a tool or a resource because we're going to be partially or fully virtual in the fall. And this has a solution for that. And it's getting people really excited.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And the nice thing is too, is it can be an interim solution. So obviously, world's kind of changed a little bit, but COVID's not going to last forever. So we are going to have the students back in the classroom at some point. And if that time comes and you want to just continue to use SOLIDWORKS and you want to drop your subscription on the platform, you're more than happy to. But we have a solution for you at this current time that can help you get through the virtual learning aspect with your students. So feel free to reach out to us. We can go in a more in-depth demo of that. We can go through, and then also if you do decide to get it, we will, between Design Point and myself, we will make sure that you're fully trained on it so you understand how to use it perfectly. Well, maybe not perfectly, but really well before you actually start working with the students. So we will make sure you get up to speed, and there's a lot of learning content on My SOLIDWORKS as well to basically get you up to speed as well.
Get you there. Do we have any other remaining questions that we did not touch upon?
There was a system requirement question. And just so, and I'll put we actually have a website that actually talks about that. I will tell you that even though the website says, like you need 8 GB of RAM, or you need, this certain GPU or something like that, it's not really the case. I have a Surface, I think Surface 3, and it has an okay processor, but it only has like 4 gigs of RAM. And if you're going to use like basic SolidWorks, I mean, it works. It doesn't work amazing, but it works. I have a gaming computer right here with a lot of students have gaming computers at home. We don't support the graphics card, but it runs just fine on that computer. I actually use it on my computer, like just in case I need to like take a look at a file. So it runs just fine. I put the system requirements in the chat window just in case people are interested. That's the website that describes them and says like what we suggest. But once again, remember that's this is made for commercial. It's commercially and what we support, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work on other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Did we get everything? I think. Scroll.
Unless there's more questions coming in, I think that's most of it.
I think we've covered everything. All right, so unless there's a last minute question that comes in the next couple of seconds. Oh, we got a nice job. Thank you so much, and you're welcome. Thank you, guys. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for the webinar. I hope that you got a lot of using. Here's how we can be using it. Make sure you're leaning on me here at Design Point and my tech team. Obviously, Ryan is accessible as well. You can send him an email there. We want to make sure you're being taken care of, and a majority of you wanted to learn a little bit more about the 3D Experience platform for the fall 2020, even some people who are currently teaching in the summer. So yeah, we'll be reaching out, and please, if for some reason you're worried about us getting back to you, our email's right there. Just shoot us a message and we'll make sure that we can sync up. Do you have anything else, Ryan, you want to add?
That's it. Stay safe out there.
All right. Thank you everyone for your business and your partnership. And if you don't have SolidWorks, hopefully we get to answer questions in the future. Thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of your day.